Welcome to today's deep dive, and let me tell you, we are diving into a treasure trove of stories today. The book is called She Built It, and it features these incredible women who didn't just overcome challenges, they used them, like almost as building blocks for their businesses.
It's inspiring, right? And what struck me is the sheer diversity of backgrounds, but that entrepreneurial spirit, it's like a universal language.
Totally. And speaking of finding your voice, Angela Sedran's story, oh my gosh, talk about starting from scratch. She's coming of age in South Africa during apartheid. So we're not just talking about like economic hardship, but a whole system designed to hold people back.
It's hard to even fathom, honestly, the pressure on a young woman in that environment. And then to become a single mother after a carjacking took her son's father? I mean, that's just...
Devastating, right? It makes you wonder how anyone even begins to rebuild after that kind of loss. But she did. She sought a new start in Australia.
Which is its own set of hurdles, right?
Oh, absolutely. Think about the cost of living there. Yeah. Plus, supporting her son's education. She was trying everything, from making candles to running an online boutique.
That's what I find so interesting. Even in those early ventures, you see this theme with Angela. She's drawn to beauty, to creating things that bring like a little light into people's lives.
It's true. And it's almost like that drive to create kept her going, even when things went sideways. Because just when her business starts gaining traction, she gets scammed.
How much was it again?
$100,000. Can you believe that?
No.
It's wild. And the authorities, they basically brushed it off, told her to move on. But Angela? No way.
That's where we see that steel, that inner strength. She tracked that scammer across the globe using every online tool she could find.
All the way to Israel.
Can you imagine?
And then, get this, she confronts him. Not with threats or anything, but with his own social media posts.
Yeah.
Like proof that she knew exactly who he was and what he'd done.
That's some next level leverage right there.
Talk about turning the tables.
Yeah.
And the best part, she got every penny back, plus interest.
Wow.
But it's what she did next that's truly amazing. Instead of, just breathing a sigh of relief, she turns that whole experience into her power move.
How so?
She becomes this guide for other entrepreneurs, showing them that even our biggest setbacks, they can be the foundation for our greatest work.
I love that. And it reminds me of Rachel Wingman's story, because talk about finding your calling amidst chaos.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, moving to Australia from Hong Kong at 15, that's a lot to process. The move, the language barrier, the cultural differences.
It takes incredible resilience to just adapt, let alone actually build a life from scratch. And on top of that, she's dealing with prejudice, personal loss.
The loss of her father, right?
Yeah, in a car accident, too.
It's just heartbreaking. It really makes you realize how precious and fragile life is.
It does. But it's also a testament to the human spirit, because instead of retreating, Rachel chooses to stay in Australia and forge her own path.
And that's where that triple happiness philosophy of hers starts to shine through, right? I mean, remember her sandwich shop, King Sandwiches?
Yeah.
She started that during the SARS crisis.
Talk about spotting opportunity in the midst of chaos, right?
Exactly. And that same entrepreneurial spirit, that adaptability, it leads her to the beauty and wellness industry with Wonder Lab.
Which, let's be real, becomes a massive success. She created a space for people to, recharge, reconnect, which if you think about it, speaks directly to those core elements of her triple happiness idea. Mindset, energy, and relationships.
It all connects, and then, boom, COVID hits. Talk about another curveball.
Right.
But again, she uses that time so strategically, upskilling her team, going digital. She doesn't just survive, she pivots and thrives.
Exactly. And that ultimately leads her to step away from the corporate world and focus on triple happiness full time. It's like this powerful reminder that sometimes the most unexpected detours lead us to our greatest passion.
Absolutely. And speaking of unexpected paths, Jenny Godfrey's story, oh my gosh, this one really resonated with me. Because she goes straight at this questions so many of us have. That whole can you really have it all thing, like the fulfilling career and the happy family and all of that.
It's the eternal question, isn't it? And everyone's got a different answer.
So true. But what's refreshing about Jenny's approach is that she's not out here selling a magic formula. It's more like she's having this conversation with herself.
I love that. Like her younger and older selves are giving each other advice.
Yes. And it's so effective. She breaks down her whole approach into these 3 key disciplines: balance, invest, enhance. Remember that wobbly 3-legged stool analogy she uses about trying to find balance at a soccer game?
Oh, yeah. So relatable.
Right. It totally captures that feeling of trying to keep everything steady, even when life is throwing curveballs left and right.
And Jenny's curveballs included, let's not forget, building a successful marketing firm, concept designs and marketing, all while raising a family.
Oh, yeah. And this is where things get super interesting.
Yeah.
Because she brings in psychometric testing, not just for herself, for her entire team.
Which I think really speaks to her focus on building a strong company culture. It's about valuing individual strengths, not trying to force everyone into the same mold.
Absolutely. And finding the environment where everyone can thrive.
And, part of that thriving comes from genuine connection.
She's a big believer in networking, but not the transactional kind, right?
Right, like actually building real relationships, finding your people.
Which, it all circles back, doesn't it? Those strong relationships, they're essential for a fulfilling life, both personally and professionally.
I completely agree.
And from fulfilling lives, we are taking it to the skies with Michelle Huntington. Because her story, this is all about defying expectations, literally reaching for the stars, She wanted to be a pilot from such a young age, but everyone basically told her it was a man's world.
It's amazing how deeply ingrained those biases can be, right?
It's unbelievable.
She admits to repeating the same dismissive comment, that tampon remark, that her career counselor had said to her years earlier. It's like this subconscious echo of those limiting beliefs we pick up along the way.
So true, it's wild.
Yeah.
But Michelle, she challenges those beliefs head on. She sells everything she owns to finance flying lessons. I mean, talk about commitment.
Especially as a single mother, right? The stakes are even higher.
For sure.
She's not just chasing a dream, she's building a future for her son.
It's powerful. And she doesn't just get her pilot's license, oh no. She sets her sights on becoming a commercial pilot.
Which requires hundreds of flight hours, don't forget.
Hundreds. So what does she do? She decides to fly solo across the Pacific Ocean.
Wait, what?
Yes. And not just once, 3 times. In a small plane.
You're kidding.
I'm serious.
That's incredible.
Right. Talk about fearless.
Seriously, it's like this incredible display of skill resilience and that, unwavering self-belief we keep seeing.
Totally. What stands out to you most about how she handled those solo flights?
Honestly, I think it's the combination of her planning. Like, she's meticulous, but then she's also able to adapt on the fly. You know what I mean? She talks about dealing with everything from equipment malfunctions to, well, let's just say creative bathroom breaks. It's clear that she's not just a skilled pilot. She's incredibly resourceful and level-headed under pressure.
And that brings us to a key theme that we keep seeing in these stories. Resilience. It's not just about bouncing back from setbacks. It's about using them as fuel.
It makes you wonder, what seemingly impossible situation are we turning away from that might actually be our greatest launch pad?
Right. It's a question worth pondering.
It is. And it's not just about resilience. We've seen determination, adaptability, and that same unwavering self-belief that allows them to defy expectations, to achieve what others might have deemed impossible.
I love that. And I think for our listeners, the big takeaway here is this. These aren't just inspiring stories. They're like blueprints.
Blueprints for what?
For navigating our own challenges.
Yeah.
Because think about it. If these women can overcome scams, prejudice, even solo flights across the Pacific, imagine what we can achieve when we tap into our own inner strength, when we embrace the power of perseverance.
It's empowering, isn't it? It reminds us that success isn't just about talent or luck. It's about embracing those qualities. The resilience, the determination, the self-belief. Those are the things that allow us to transform obstacles into opportunities. And who knows, maybe even build something incredible along the way.
It's funny how some of these stories, they really stay with you. Like Heather Disher's story, it hit me on a personal level. She's had to overcome so much, starting with really intense bullying at a young age.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking how those early experiences can really shape us, isn't it? She talks about having a breakdown at 14, just feeling completely overwhelmed. But what's interesting is that she sees that moment as a turning point.
It's like okay, I have a choice here moment, stay stuck or fight for my own light,
Exactly.
And fight she did.
She builds this really successful career in advertising, which, come on, that's a tough industry, especially for women.
Oh, totally. But she didn't just climb the ladder. She was mentoring others, creating opportunities.
It was paying it forward.
Yes.
And eventually, that desire to empower others, it leads her to advising governance boards and then ultimately to starting her own firm.
It's like she's driven by something bigger than just, making a profit.
Oh, absolutely. There's a real sense of purpose there.
Yeah.
And a willingness to walk away when things don't align with her values,
I love that.
She talks about turning down business if it doesn't feel right, which is a powerful lesson in itself.
It is, yeah.
It's about building a legacy, not just a bank account.
100%. And speaking of building legacies, Polina Kesov's story. Talk about a global journey from Ukraine to Australia and straight into the heart of entrepreneurship.
Imagine leaving everything you know behind and starting over in a new country.
It's amazing.
It really is a testament to her family's courage, their belief in a brighter future.
For sure. And Polina embodies that same resilience,
Oh, absolutely.
navigating cultural differences, language barriers, and still, excelling in school. She even opened a beauty salon at 18.
To get out.
I know, right?
What a go-getter.
Talk about a go-getter. And then she gets married and becomes a mother at 19, all while building a life in a new country.
She has this saying, I will make it work no matter what. And you can just feel that determination in everything she does.
Absolutely.
But it's not just, blind optimism. There's real strategy there. A knack for spotting opportunities.
Like when she launches an insurance brokerage firm with her close friend in the middle of the global financial crisis.
Whoa, talk about timing.
I know, right?
But they used that challenge to their advantage.
Right.
They built their business on this foundation of deep knowledge, personalized service. It resonated with clients, even in those uncertain times.
Just that classic advice, right? Like, find the opportunity in the chaos.
Exactly.
But then tragedy strikes. Her business partner and dear friend is diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, gosh, I'd forgotten about that part.
And it's incurable. I mean, it's hard to imagine how she navigated that loss, both personally and professionally.
It really speaks to her strength, and her commitment to their shared vision.
For sure.
She makes these strategic decisions that keep the business afloat, and not just afloat, thriving. It's like she's honoring her friend's legacy in such a tangible way.
It's beautiful. And speaking of honoring legacies, but also, challenging the status quo, we have Jo Cooper. She calls herself a warrior for change. And her story starts with something that seems, kind of mundane.
What's that?
A bylaw in her apartment building banning pets.
Okay, so not exactly earth-shattering stuff.
Right. But as she digs deeper, she realizes it's not just about pets. It's about power dynamics. Who gets to make decisions and who gets silenced. And Jo. She refuses to be silenced.
They like her.
She takes the fight all the way to the Supreme Court, and guess what?
She wins.
She wins. It's amazing how she connected this, seemingly small issue to these larger themes of justice and equity.
It's a powerful reminder that change often starts at the grassroots level,
Totally.
with individuals who are willing to speak up, even when it feels like an uphill battle.
100%. And her victory, it set a legal precedent, proving that even these seemingly small battles, they can have a ripple effect.
It's so inspiring.
Right. It makes you wonder, what are we putting up with in our own lives that deserves a closer look, a little warrior energy?
Right. Where's our fight?
And speaking of energy, let's talk about Sophie Firmager, because her story is all about embracing your authentic self, that inner sparkle.
Yes. And I love how honest she is about the struggles that come with that, she talks about feeling pressure to conform, to downplay her femininity in the corporate world.
Yeah.
That feeling of having to choose between being yourself and fitting into a mold that just doesn't feel right. I think that's something a lot of people can relate to regardless of gender.
100%.
And for Sophie, it all kind of comes to a head with this panic attack she has during a presentation.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Talk about a wake-up call.
Just like your body's way of saying, nope, not doing this anymore.
Right. This isn't it.
Exactly.
But it's what she does with that wake-up call that's important. She doesn't just crawl under a rock. She embraces her vulnerability, Mm-hmm. She hones her public speaking skills and ultimately realizes that the corporate world just isn't the right fit.
Which is huge. I mean, she was in a coveted position at Tiffany & Co.
But she listened to that inner voice telling her there was something more,
It takes guts to do that.
It really does. And it leads her to start her own leadership development firm where she helps others unlock their potential by embracing authenticity and emotional intelligence.
I love that. Turning a personal struggle into a powerful purpose.
Right.
And speaking of purpose, Cristina Santangelo's story. She really makes you think about beauty in a whole new light. It's not just about fashion. It's about self-acceptance.
It's interesting how she kind of flips the script on being the pretty girl, Yeah. She talks about the pressure that comes with that label, the feeling of being reduced to her looks, which isn't something people always think about.
They do.
But it's real, and it's something she had to navigate.
Absolutely. It's like this reminder that we all have insecurities, right? Regardless of how others perceive us.
100%.
And for Cristina, That realization takes her on a fascinating journey.
Tell me more.
She goes from competing in beauty pageants to building a successful career in finance.
Wow, quite a shift.
Right. Proving, hey, I'm more than just a pretty face. But even then, she still felt like something was missing.
Don't you hate that feeling? Like you've achieved all these things, but there's still this emptiness.
It's the worst. And that's where her true calling emerges, right? She becomes a certified image consultant and style coach.
I love that. Helping others discover their own unique style.
Yes. And it's not just about clothes and makeup. It's about using those things as tools for self-expression.
It's like she emphasizes self-expression over conformity, which I love.
Me too.
And that whole thing she does with color psychology, so cool.
I know. Using colors to, evoke certain moods and enhance personal branding. It's brilliant.
It's such a holistic approach.
It really is.
And it speaks to that idea that our inner and outer selves, they're not separate. They're totally connected.
100%.
And there's so much more to unpack there. But we've got, 2 more inspiring stories to get through.
We talk a lot about embracing your authentic self.
Yeah.
But it's how do you actually do that? When you're juggling a million things, career, family, all of it. And Sue Ann Wilson's story, oh my gosh, she gets it. She does not sugarcoat the challenges of trying to, have it all.
It's refreshing, actually, how honest she is about the exhaustion, the pressure to be everything to everyone. That's something I think a lot of parents, especially mothers, can relate to.
Oh, for sure. But the thing is, she doesn't just, complain about it. She offers solutions.
Like what?
Well, she talks a lot about the importance of having a supportive partner and a strong network of friends and family, that village it takes.
It takes a village, that's for sure.
It really does. To raise a family, build a career, all of it.
Yeah, and I like that she emphasizes that asking for help, it's not a weakness, it's strategic.
Right.
And it's not just about, getting someone to watch the kids so you can work late. It's about having people who get you,
Yeah.
who can offer encouragement or just listen when you feel like you're drowning.
100%. And you know what else she's big on?
What's that?
Self-care. Which, let's be honest, is usually the first thing to go when we're feeling overwhelmed.
It's so true, though.
Right. But she talks about journaling, gratitude, even just taking a few minutes to breathe.
Those little things make a difference.
They really do. She makes a really strong case for that. It's about shifting your mindset,
From what to what?
from scarcity to abundance.
I like that.
Even if it's just finding abundance in small moments throughout the day. And sometimes, she suggests, those moments come from shaking things up entirely, like her family's move to Singapore.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about a leap of faith. But it brought them closer, opened up all these new possibilities for them.
It makes you think, what if instead of saying what if, we started saying why not?
Right. That's the entrepreneurial spirit, isn't it?
It is that willingness to, embrace the unknown, trust the journey.
Totally. And speaking of journeys, Suzanne Rath's story. This one really highlights the connection between our physical and emotional well-being.
Okay, tell me more about her.
So she's always had this adventurous spirit, grew up on a farm in Ireland, worked in Uganda, but it was a biking accident in Australia that really changed her perspective on health and healing.
Wow, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was devastating.
So what did she do?
She dove headfirst into every healing modality you can think of. Physiotherapy, yoga, craniosacral therapy. She wasn't just treating the symptoms, she was searching for the root causes,
I love that approach.
Me too. And that's how her clinic, Wellness Embodied, was born.
Makes sense.
And it's not just about, treating illness.
It's about feeling good.
Yes. Cultivating well-being on every level. Physical, mental, emotional, the whole package.
It's that mind-body connection, right?
Exactly.
Which I think more and more people are starting to understand. Our bodies and minds, they're not separate. They're totally intertwined.
100%. And what a powerful note to end on, don't you think?
I do.
I mean, from overcoming scams and prejudice to flying solo across the Pacific.
Don't forget challenging the legal system.
Oh, right. And building businesses from scratch. These women have shown us that there's no one way to, make it. But there are some universal truths about building a life of purpose.
What stands out to you most looking back on all these stories?
Honestly, their resilience, that unwavering belief in themselves, it's contagious.
It is. They face those challenges head on, learn from their setbacks, and they never let go of that, that spark of possibility.
It's inspiring. Right?
So inspiring.
And for our listeners, we hope this deep dive into She Built It has sparked something in you, a new idea, a fresh perspective, or maybe even just the courage to take that next step on your own journey. Because as these women have shown us, sometimes the greatest challenges lead to the most extraordinary outcomes.
Couldn't have said it better myself.